My father, A.P. Patty Smithwick, was the leading steeplechase rider of the country. Well, my grandfather taught Mikey and Pop most of what they knew as young men about horses. And they were the most successful sports team in American history. Mikey trained the horses and Pop rode them for about 20 years. And all during that time they completely dominated. He had to reduce, he had to lose weight all year long when he was riding races. And he'd put on about 5 layers of clothes in the middle of the summer and a sweatsuit and get in the car with a jug of screwdrivers, vodka and orange juice. And that's how he would drive to the races, and he could lose 5 or 6, maybe even 7 or 8 pounds in a 2-hour drive to the races. So sometimes people call him up and say, "Hey Patty, can I get to ride to the races with you tomorrow?" He'd say, "Sure, I'll meet you at the barn at 10 o'clock. And this one woman showed up there all dressed up and ready to go to the races, got in the car, and he turned on the heat. And when she arrived, she was just a soggy, sweaty mess. One of the main points I wanted to make was how I was raising my children. So sort of the flip side of the other book. Now I'm the father raising the children and I'm riding races, and how do I relate to my children? And I turned 47, which put me a little bit older than my father was at his death. And that kind of released me for some reason. And I thought, well, now I'm getting a little older, and I'm older than my father ever was, and the writing's going pretty well. Maybe I'll add on a little bit. Maybe I'll ride some races.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4.
And into the chute, the narrowing tunnel, the vortex that is Maryland in April, of lashing winds and fast horses and beautiful women that I don't pay attention to. And late afternoon, out-of-doors drinking that seems to lower everyone's inhibitions. And cracking, breaking, spinning rails and terrible life-changing falls, almost, including one almost fatal of a friend. Through a late night of no sleep into the paddock of the Maryland Hunt Cup, and up onto a big rangy gray horse called Florida Law. I put a rubber suit, corduroys, wool sweaters on a manuscript of Flying Change. I set it in a 1966 Ford Fairlane with the heater going full blast and accelerator on the floor. I sweated 100 pages off that book, getting it fit and ready to go to the post.
Okay, a lot of hard work and sweat, and sometimes dividing by 2 works out. Well done, Patrick.
Flying Change focuses on a man passing a milestone in his life and then suddenly feeling released. Released to say the hell with the frumpy bourgeois middle-class pressures of American life. Released to give the often accepted concept that you are transitioning, you are inexorably sliding downhill into middle age. You might as well develop a paunch and stand on the sidelines of life forever. I felt released to give this idea a kick in the butt. Then, when this middle-aged man does decide to go for it, he has to deal with the criticisms of many. You're too old. You have too many responsibilities. What if? What if? Think of your wife. Think of your children, your job. And then the kicker, you remember what happened to your father. Can you have my what? Goggles. My goggles? Next weekend. How about next weekend? I only have 2 pairs. You be there next weekend, I'll give them to you. All right? Thank you. Flying Change is told in a drop the reins and let 'em roll style. Let the verbs and phrases and sentences stretch out like a thoroughbred going for the wire. Let the language conform to the mood of the chapter. In Flying Change, I take the reader on a breeze, on a race around the track at Saratoga Springs, back to Maryland, out on gallops through the countryside with my children and my Uncle Mikey, who's no longer with us. On works banging stirrups against the 19-year-old leading steeplechase rider of the country. On port and bourbon-fueled fox hunts over chicken coops, through rivers, over posts and rails, jumping head and head with childhood friend Tom Voss as we had his children on Pepper and Queenie.
Straight victory in the Grand National welterweight with Southwood racing in second place and Sam Sullivan.
Flying Change is about people, friendship, loyalty, love, passion, and as Hemingway put it about bullfighters, it's about living life all the way up. And it's about the horse, Florida, his running mate, welterweight, and my horse, Warfield. I thank them and the thousands of horses I've known. The horse gives and gives to us. The horse, beauty, mystery, power, elegance, speed, gentleness. It gives to man, it gives to art, paintings, sculptures, literature, film. It gives to sport in an infinite number of ways. I salute Florida, even as I feel the swish and sting of his gray tail across my face as I reach down to pick out his hind feet. I salute Florida and his friend welterweight a year later as I jog beside him in the paddock in the Worthington Valley. Tom jogging too. I hop on one foot, hands raised high. Tom grabs my leg, tosses me on, places my foot in the stirrup. I stand, gather the reins, in the zone, on our own, no longer really there with the thousands of calling out spectators, paying no attention to them. I put my hands on Florida's high withers, relax at one with Florida, with the sky and the thick grass and the fences coming up, and with the spirit of the horse. Thank you, Florida law. Thank you.